What is going on, peeps? I am never saying that again. What is going on, everybody? King John here. Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a brand new discussion video, since you guys seem to enjoy these type of videos a lot. And if I'm posting this in New Year's, well then happy New Year's, because I am stockpiling all these videos and I have no idea when I'm going to post them. But if it's New Year's, then happy New Year's, everybody. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about why rollback netcode is so important in fighting games. See, a lot of people I see in my comments and on Twitter and on all these other things asking why is rollback netcode, or what is rollback netcode, why is it so important to have in every fighting game, why are people so like angsty about it, why are people so crazy about it. Well, I'm here to explain to you why rollback netcode is a must in today's day and age. Now, this video isn't meant to explain to you how the actual rollback infrastructure works. This is more aimed towards, you know, newer or casual people or casual fighting game fans that don't really know what this whole rollback rage is about. I'll probably be linking a video in the description of a video that explains how the actual infrastructure works if you guys are actually interested in that. But before we get into the discussion, guys, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. It only takes 2 seconds of your time and it's completely free. You can even unsubscribe if you change your mind. But now, to get this whole discussion started, let's actually just start with the whole reason this video was created, the real question, and that is, why is rollback netcode in fighting games so important? Well, long story short, it basically means that it makes the net play experience a lot easier. Alright, everybody, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time, alright? Okay, obviously not. I'm playing. Chill. Come back. Okay, but for real, I actually really wasn't lying about making everything better. But to go on a deeper level, the difference between a delay-based netcode and a rollback netcode fighting game is night and day. For example, in a delay-based fighting game, the native delay is set to pretty much your connection or the distance between you and your opponent, and it sets between, you know, 3 frames of delay, 4 frames of delay, 5 frames of delay, and it fluctuates. It keeps fluctuating, and it really is frustrating. Now rollback netcode, from what I am to understand, basically sets a native delay that it sticks to for the whole match. So that's why rollback netcode games are a lot more responsive. And from there, the game basically tries to predict what's going to be your next move. But basically what it's trying to do is try to keep lag and delay as set to that number as possible. So if the game eventually spikes or it fluctuates or things like that, it'll try to roll back to a couple frames before, and that's where the whole rollback turn comes from. But like I said, that's more of the infrastructure. You can go watch the videos on that. I'll probably link them in the description. But basically, having rollback in your fighting game nowadays is make or break, especially in the era that we're living in with the middle of the pandemic. You know, things are looking a little bit better, but at the same time, you still have to be careful, and we can't really have these big gatherings that often they're slowly coming back, like we have with CEO recently, but we're not really hurrying up to make all these big events again. Simply because, like I said, we're not really having all these locals and all these majors all the time. We're basically stuck at home most of the time, or that's really our only option to play these fighting games. And having the best experience possible is what keeps players playing. We're not really going to sit here and play a laggy mess of delay-based netcode game and have fun with it. We're mostly just going to be frustrated with it, because we also don't have that alternative of going to our local or going to this major or this national or whatever and play offline sets, because those are a lot more rare for now and they're slowly coming back, but we need alternatives. And that's where rollback comes in, and that gives you a nearly offline experience. Obviously there are some hiccups if there's a bad connection or if there's a massive distance. We're talking about like one side of the world to the other where the game is unplayable, but in every other circumstance it's very playable. It's near offline status, and it's very enjoyable. It's also a great way to practice for majors or practice for locals. You can just practice at home, and that's not even stating of all the people that can't even travel to said locals or said majors because they just don't have the funds, or they don't have the time. Maybe they have a job they're very committed to, or they simply just don't want to drop like $1,000 or $2,000 on traveling, hotel rooms, food, and all these things just to go to a local for a weekend, or a major, I'm sorry. So offline is their only real way of, you know, of playing the game. And that's just on the competitive side. There are tons of casual players that just want to hop on and mash some buttons and want to have a good time. And, you know, a laggy mess is frustrating for anybody from professional to casual level. You know, I'm not some type of Call of Duty pro, but back when I played Call of Duty like 5-6 years ago, if I played a laggy match and I knew I shot that guy but it lagged and the bullets didn't like register and he killed me, I would be pissed off. It's pretty much the same thing for fighting games. If you have a guy teleporting all over the screen and you knew you pressed the button but it didn't register because it was delay based and there was a delay, you're gonna be pissed off. So having rollback netcode essentially just enhances the experience and actually makes it a very nice and enjoyable experience for you to practice and get some games in, get some good experience. Well, maybe get some good experience, I don't know about that, but it definitely gives you a outlet to practice things, practice setups, practice combos, and practice things that you would actually use at a high level, whether it be tournaments, locals, whatever the hell. And it's getting to the point where rollback netcode itself is starting to turn into a marketing thing. Like companies are starting to advertise that they have rollback netcode as like a big ad, when honestly this should be on by default, but whatever, it's okay, because they started to realize at this point that rollback brings in players and retain players. Like, let's look at BlazBlue, for example. BlazBlue literally was, to lack for a better word, struggling. Okay, it was very close to flatlining. It had its small dedicated fan base, of course, of longtime players and fans, especially now for the pandemic, because BlazBlue was always a game that people gathered together in offline settings to play, and that's where it really popped off. But online it was non-existent. But thanks to the recent BlazBlue rollback patch, BBCF has blown up. BBCF went from having like 1,000 peak players to nearly 5,000 peak players in a matter of like an hour after the patch went up, and it retained like a good 1,500 to 2,000 players daily of those 5,000, and it keeps going up, and the game keeps going on sale, so more and more players are going to keep playing, which is awesome. That game basically got revived from the dead, and now it's good, it's thriving again. Now obviously for BlazBlue to really break onto the mainstream like Guilty Gear did, it needs a brand new version or a brand new game, but this is a massive first step. But that's besides the point. That was just one example. Guilty Gear Strive, also a great example of a game that was going to have delay based netcode. It was, but then with the whole rollback movement, they delayed the game, and to give it rollback netcode, or to implement rollback netcode, and it paid off big time. That game has sold, I'm pretty sure, nearly 1 million copies by now, or maybe it already surpassed 1 million copies. That game broke into the mainstream for Guilty Gear, and it's a massive success for Arc System. Like, for some of you, you may hear selling like 1 million copies is not that much, but for Arc System and for an IP like Guilty Gear, that is massive. And who knows how Guilty Gear Strive would have ended up if it came out as a delay-based netcode game. For example, let's look at the unfortunate case of Granblue Fantasy Versus. Granblue Fantasy Versus is one of my favorite fighting games out here. The fighting game that taught me a lot about fighting, a lot of skills and a lot of fundamentals. Unfortunately had to die for this new era of rollback games to come out, because it was basically the last big release, or the last big fighting game release that came out before the whole rollback movement started, before the pandemic, and it got the short end of the stick. Unfortunately, it came out right as the pandemic started. It only got one decently big tournament, which was, I forgot its name. It was in New York or Jersey or whatever. Oh, TSB, I think it was TSB. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the only decently big tournament that it got, and it did well. But then after that, we all got relegated to online, and it was all downhill from there. Obviously, myself and a lot of dedicated players stuck with the game for a long time, and we made tournaments. But over time, that number kept dwindling, and it kept dwindling, and it kept dwindling. And we had bigger tournaments like Arc Revo and things, which I won, by the way. I won one of them. Not to flex or anything, but No, but in all seriousness, we had decently big tournaments or whatever. But nothing really revived the game back to what it could have been if we either never got into the pandemic, or it would have had rollback netcode on release. And that game is what basically showed everybody, damn, we really need rollback netcode in every single game from now on, because that game was supposed to be huge. It had so much funding from side games. It had pretty much everything going. It was designed to be an esports game. It was pretty much supposed to be the next big thing, and unfortunately it kind of flopped in the competitive spectrum, not really in sales, simply because it had delay based netcode. Now you would say a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ Well, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a massive success. Well, Dragon Ball FighterZ did come out way before the pandemic, so it had its chance in the light, while Granblue did not have its chance in the spotlight. It never got a chance to begin with. And also on the topic of Dragon Ball FighterZ, that game doesn't have, you know, rollback netcode, but that game still has a ton of players. To be fair, that game is a Dragon Ball IP. Honestly, you can slap Dragon Ball on anything and all the Dragon Ball people are gonna play it anyways, so that's not really something that would count that much. But even then, even its competitive player fan base are starting to ask for rollback netcode from Bandai Namco and Arc System, even though this is on Bandai Namco, not Arc System, and are just begging, like, please, this game is so big, it's so successful, this is one of the games that should have rollback netcode, or you should take the budget and the time to put rollback netcode into it if you're not planning on making a Dragon Ball FighterZ 2, which they probably are, and that game is definitely gonna have rollback netcode, but who knows, maybe they could do some type of test for Dragon Ball FighterZ 1, I don't know, who knows. And DNF Duel is always gonna have rollback netcode, and that's great. Pretty much every game from now on is going to have rollback netcode. Oh, Persona 4 Arena. It literally just popped into my head that that game, unfortunately, is not gonna have rollback netcode on release because it's a port, which is terrible. And you can literally see the outcry of people basically saying they're not gonna buy the game, or they're not gonna try the game, or they're not gonna do this, or they're not gonna do that, simply because it has delay-based netcode, and pretty much nobody's gonna accept that anymore. Nobody's gonna play the delay-based netcode games that are brand new. They're only gonna give a pass to the older ones, and even for the older ones, they're begging for rollback netcode. It's such an important thing nowadays. It's so insanely important for everybody, whether it be that you can't travel and you are only stuck at home, or you're stuck at home because of the pandemic, or you don't have an offline scene, or whatever, or you don't have people to play with. Having rollback netcode is so important for everybody and anybody to have a good experience online and to have a smooth experience, whether it is to practice or just to get some games in or whatever the hell you want to do. Rollback netcode is a requirement in today's day and age, and I'm pretty sure developers are starting to see that, because everything is going to have rollback netcode from now on, which is a great thing. But now we have another problem that we have to work on and be vocal about, and that's crossplay, baby. But that is a video for another day, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know what you guys are thinking about rollback netcode. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to, you know, maybe have a little discussion if you guys are interested in the comment section down below. Whatever. Peace.